Amen, amen. All right, so what series are we on? Let me hear it loud. Healing from past hurts. So what have we talked about the last couple weeks? Forgiveness. And what did Walter speak on last week? Getting rid of old past hurts. That's right. And so we're just going to keep going right into that. And today, I'm going to just tag along right into what the Normans have been preaching about over the last couple weeks. And so before we do, can we put up that first picture of the fruits? All right, what do we see here? Great, a fruit, yes. What kind of fruit? Banana, orange, avocado, right? Okay, what do you see that's common in all of these? They're natural. I heard they had skin. Is that what I said? They have skin. They have seeds. Anything else? They're not rotten. What'd you say? They're fresh. Yes. Anything else? All of those are correct answers. To go along with they have skin, do you just dive right into the orange and eat the outside? You kill. Ah, there it is. That's right. You peel it. That's right. We can eat all of these from the outside if somebody really wanted to, but 99.9% of us peel them first, correct? We all hope so. So, what you see on the outside is not necessarily what's going on the inside of these fruit, right? And so you may not, if you've never seen a banana, which is surprising, you may not know that it looks different than you see what's on the outside of the banana. You have to peel back the surface to get to the main part of the fruit. The peeling is just the covering for what is really going on the inside. All right? And so you can put up the title today. The title is What's Under the Surface? And so we're going to talk about inner healing today. What's going on under the surface? So let's put up that second picture. What is this? An iceberg. Great. When you see this picture, what do you see about this iceberg? That it's big, it's bigger in the water. What'd you say? It's under the surface. Right. When you're looking at it from this perspective, obviously you can see all of that what's going on. But if you were just on sea level, what all would you see? What would you see? Just the tip of the iceberg, right? And that's amazing. Wow, look how that ice is growing. But guess what? It took years and years and years and years and years for all of this to be here in order to even get to what we see on the surface. So how does this relate to us? How are we like this iceberg? First, what we show people is not necessarily who we are under the surface. Secondly, sometimes we don't even realize what the pain, the disappointment, the frustration, the unforgiveness brings and begins to show itself above sea level. We think we can keep this stuff tucked in, right? That no one has to know about the abuse. No one has to know that my father isn't in my life. My mom isn't in my life. Nobody has to know that I have so much pain underneath. But the truth is, at some point, what's under the surface begins to come to the top. And so today, we're going to talk about what's underneath your surface. We're going to talk about inner healing. All right? I want to let you know in a little secret. Can I tell you a little secret? Believe it or not, we can see your pain. You may be like, no, you can't. You don't know I've heard it. You don't know my story. You work with a school district, so I'm sure you hear it all the time. You don't know what I've been through. You tell me, what are some of the things that the kids say at school that they can connect to? Red mic.
Ooh, that was loud.
And you can leave it on because she's going to read for me. Go ahead.
They just say, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I'm dealing with. I have gone through things you've never been through. Mm-hmm.
Is that about right, what you guys hear? All of you, we got another teaching room. We got the Pinsons who work with the youth all the time. But for those of you guys who work with them, Can you or can you not see what's going on even if you may not know the story? Yes. What are some ways it shows itself even though we may not see? What are some ways? You guys either yell them out or tell me. Say, what do you say? Acting out. Oh, acting out. What does that mean? Like playing in a drama? Being disrespectful. Yes. What's some other ones? Having an attitude. Angry, lashing out. What is anything else that you got? You guys can say stuff too. What another way is that? I mean, y'all know.
Promiscuous behavior.
Promiscuous behavior, yes. Overly sensitive and emotional. You were going to say something back here. Fighting. Yes. That no one's on your side, that you always have to be on the defense. You have to be offense before somebody can attack you. So I got to be ready to throw, right? I got to ready to get my bows up, okay? Extra quiet, yes. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be bothered. Don't talk to me. Go ahead. Heavily attached. That's good. Yes, you become codependent. You almost revert the other way, where now I don't want to lose anybody, so I hold tightly to them. Britt, were you going to say something? Oh, were you just agreeing? Yeah. Give me the amens today. Anything else? And these are just a few, to be honest. All right? And I hear it, but that's just the way I am. That's my personality. That was a perfect, because that's exactly what it is. Like, no, it ain't. That's not the truth. You think when God created you, he says, you know what, John, I'm going to build John to be the only person I built to be angry. No. You were not built to be that way. He did not put a drop of frustration in you when he made you. That stuff came in you and began to show itself. Oh, my picture's gone. It's okay. Show itself on the surface because something created that in you underneath the surface. And honestly, sometimes you may not even know where it came from. It may be in the womb. It may be because you grew up in a household of anger. You may have grown up in a place where people constantly argue and fight, and all you hear is cussing all day, and so all you do is cuss. And so today we're going to talk about that. Proverbs 4:23. Can you put it up there for me? Go ahead.
Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life.
Out of it springs the issues of life. Keep your heart in all diligence, for out of it flows. Another one says flows the issues of life. Okay? So what does that mean? It means, another one says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. We have to protect our heart. I got a question for you. Can somebody live with an amputated leg? Tell me. Can you live without a hand? Can you even live without a kidney? Yes. Can you live without a gallbladder? Can you live without a heart? No. Absolutely not. What flows from the heart? Blood. And what does blood do? It is what keeps you moving day in and day out, right? Let's talk about the physical first. In the natural, I can't survive. You can't survive without a heart. Why? Because literally, in the natural, whatever is in your heart flows through the rest of your body. It flows through your veins. It flows through your bloodstream. All of that. So if it happens in the natural, then let's think about it in the spiritual. You can't disconnect that spiritually. That whatever's in my heart, guess what? It's flowing through my whole being. That if I hold on to that unforgiveness that I didn't choose to let go of, it's flowing through you. They have connected situations where people, in this, I'm not saying every situation, but there's been situations where people who were dealing with cancer realized that it was held on because of unforgiveness. And then as they let go of that, healing began to take place in their life as well. That there are certain things even that it begins to affect your health. High blood pressure, that all of that begins, and you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about that, Right, but it doesn't happen today. Okay? It's over a matter of time in life that if you don't allow the Lord to do the work in your heart today, it will carry with you for the rest of your life. I still know adults that are still walking in anger and bitterness and rejection and all that because of things they did not deal with, because of the lack of their father in their life growing up, because of their own frustrations. They take it out on other people. You begin to project that pain to somebody else. That it happens. There's a cycle that keeps passing if you don't allow the Lord to work on the inside of your heart. Another thing about that scripture is that you can only give what you possess. So I can't hold on to hurt and walk in freedom. I can't hold on to pain but choose to try to walk in love to somebody else. Because I can't pour dirty water into a clean glass of water and expect you to drink it and expect the water to turn clean by the time it touches your hands. If I said, Kelly, I'm going to give you $100. Okay, I'm going to give you $100. But I don't have $100 to give her. I can't give to her out of my pocket what I don't actually possess. You can't give love unless you have it yourself. And while you're walking in pain, you're giving a tainted version of love. Let's keep going. The two biggest things, and two of the biggest forms of inner healing, or inner womb, should I say, that people deal with are rejection and abandonment. What are some ways that rejection shows itself even as a kid, even younger than you are? That maybe you were born by mistake. Maybe they didn't want you. You were not supposed to be born. And so now you are already in the womb, built into rejection. Maybe your parents wanted an abortion but decided to keep you, but they built in you this form of an abandonment already was established in you as a kid. That maybe it's hard for you to make friends at school. Those are forms of rejection. So what do we say? I just don't like people, right? Don't we say that? I don't do people. Okay? The truth is, you do people, you've been hurt by them, so you don't want to do people. Okay? If you were not meant to do people, you'd be sitting in here by yourself. All right? What's another one? Your siblings or parents call you inappropriate names. They cuss you out at home. They're ready to fight you. So what happens? You need somewhere to release that frustration, so you go to school and you're ready to fight. You go to school and you're disrespectful. You go to school and you're ready to cuss somebody out. But but it's interesting because sometimes, especially in church people, you know how to turn that cuss on and off. Okay? That you can be a cussing sailor at school, but the moment you step in here, oh bless the Lord, you forgot you hear somebody say something close to a cuss, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that. But then tomorrow you at school saying the same words. I don't know where that came from. Somebody needs to hear it. You know, another form of rejection is abandonment, and this is common. And if I was to have people raise their hands, which I'm not going to do, I would say probably about 70% of the room, unfortunately, would have to raise their hand, including adults, that you grew up or are growing up with only one parent in the house. Or if any. Maybe you're being raised by somebody else. And it's not a bad thing. We thank God for those that are investing in our lives. But what it does, it makes you feel that somebody did not want you. I was not good enough for them. Maybe if I would have done this, maybe I should have tried this differently. Maybe if I would have done good grades, when the truth was it had nothing to do with you. But the enemy wants you to believe that it was your pain that you had to carry. Or maybe you just simply feel like a failure. Maybe you feel like there's nothing I can do right. that all of these birth seeds of rejection and abandonment in your life. There's all of these plus many more open doors for a person to feel rejected and abandoned. So let me tell you this, rejection and abandonment is tricky. Why? Because all it takes is a seed. One word, one action. Oh, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're a failure, you never do good. Let's use for an example, Jarrell, he's a strong man, he can handle this. You can stay there. Let's say Jarrell did something. And I said, oh, Jarrell, you're stupid. Right? We joking. He's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. He laugh it off. And then he do something else. And man, Jarrell, you're just stupid. Why you keep doing that? And then he like, ha, ha, okay, this is a little funnier. We're going to let it slide. Right? And then, but he just keeps hearing it over and over. Man, why do you keep making stupid mistakes? Why do you keep failing? What's wrong? Why can't you pass your grade? Are you stupid or something? And the truth is, like, and this sounds kind of funny, but the truth is we hear this. Some of you guys are dealing with this at home. Some of you are dealing with this at school. Your teachers, some of your teachers, unfortunately, may not be speaking life into you. And so what happens, he hears this over and over, and you can only take it so much before he himself starts to believe, maybe I am stupid. Let's say one day he's doing something, and all of a sudden, he makes a mistake. He says, man, Jarrell, that was so stupid of me. He would have never taken ownership of that had it not been planted in him. So sometimes we begin to take ownership of the seeds that were planted by somebody else. And what happens is it only takes a seed. So now I've given permission by taking ownership of that to allow that seed to grow in my life. And now you wonder why you feel like a failure. Now you wonder why you feel stupid. Now you wonder why you feel dumb. It's because that spirit of rejection has allowed me to feel that this is what people say I am. Let me tell you, you're not the only ones. And the truth is, everybody at some point has had to deal with rejection. The difference is whether you take ownership of it or not. Let me tell you, not everybody's going to like what you wear every day. We have an opportunity every day to deal with rejection. Oh, your shoes is busted. Oh, or whatever. Oh, that shirt, why you wear that? You don't even match. Like, why you got that hat on? You could have looked, that outfit could have looked so much better. Oh, man, you got a B, I got an A. Like, there's opportunities. Oh, how he missed that shot? He was wide open. There's opportunities every day to deal with rejection. But when we are unhealthy and not whole, we take ownership of those words and we begin to grab a hold and believe them. Let me tell you, somebody else dealt with the spirit of rejection. Jesus himself. Matthew 27:46 in the NIV.
About 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema, what is it?
Shabachthani.
Said, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?
We'll pause there. Forsaken, what does forsaken mean? Left, that's right. God himself had to reject Jesus on the cross in order for him to carry the weight of sin. So, and if Jesus didn't feel that, he would have never cried out to get free from it. Why are you forsaking me? Why have you left me? Jesus understands what that spirit of rejection feels like. He understands what it means to feel abandoned. And so he did this for you on the cross. He took this already, so you don't have to keep taking it. The very first person person, because we don't, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that experienced rejection was Satan. Isaiah 14:12.
How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations.
And then Ezekiel 28:14.
You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones.
And he had one of the highest places in heaven. Yet because he walked in pride and wanted to be like God himself, God had to kick him and a third of the angels out of heaven, which are, as we know, as demons today. And so what did that do? He made the choice to be kicked out. And so here's the truth. The devil is not after you because he likes you or even wants you. He's after you so you can experience the same thing he did. He felt what it meant to be out of heaven. When you're wrapped up in God's love, and then to get dismissed from that, he understood what it meant when he felt that if I don't get that, I don't want anybody else to have it too. He understood, and in that moment and throughout now, he understands the necessity and the power of the Father's love. At this point now, he doesn't care about his place in heaven. He just doesn't want you there either. Satan did lose his position, but more importantly, he lost the love of the Father, and he wants the same for you. And the truth is that if we saw a tree and on the tree were the branches of like anger and frustration and sadness and disappointment and all of that, if we had a tree with all of that if we came down to the root of that, a lot of that root is rejection and abandonment, and we have to stop wanting to just overcome the anger and allow the Lord to work on the root, the pain. And truth is, there comes a point where you can't hide anymore. If I had a carpet, and let's say you had a rug in your room, and your parents, maybe, and this is more probably as you were a little kid, and your parents said, clean your room. And you didn't feel like putting your toys away. They didn't feel like putting toys away. They just throw it under the carpet, under the rug. Maybe you just start off with a little ball, a little marble, right? Can't see that. But then they start putting more and more stuff. At some point, what happens? The rug starts to rise, right? And even though you can't see what's under there, you can tell there's something under the rug that's keeping it from being the clean surface it's supposed to be. And the truth is, all of that you're dealing with is starting to rise above the surface. Let me get an example. I need a volunteer. I saw your hand first, Victoria. Yeah. You were quick. Okay. Just put this on over your shirt or your jacket, it doesn't matter. There's nothing mean to it. I just don't want you to mess up your clothes. You're staff today. Okay, put this on over. You got all the layers today. Okay. Got it. You got it in there? Yeah. Okay. What is that on there? Just a little red dot, right? No big deal. Okay, go ahead and put the shirt on over that. All the layers. Maybe you should have taken the jacket off, huh? It's okay. You're small. You're in there now. Okay. So, we can tell there's a small little something through the shirt, right? But if she was somewhere and couldn't take care, clean it, whatever, she has a shirt underneath, it's not a big deal, right? It's not that big of a deal. We can work through it, right? But lift up your top layer, but don't take it off.
I can't find it.
Right here.
All right, my bad.
Okay. But let's say, like that little dot, let's just say, just represented her father not being in her life, right? But she learned how to deal with it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been there. I've done that. My father, I didn't grow up with my father. I would say, oh, he's just a sperm donor, or I don't need him. You know, you just brand new. I was your age when I said it. And so let's be honest up in here. And so, I don't need him, whatever. And so, but what was happening is that spirit of rejection was creating something in me that turned into bitterness. And because I didn't deal with it, that what I thought nobody else knew was beginning to come to the surface, to the point that the more and more, the older I got, the more and more you start to see something out, right? And then over time, if we don't deal with it, we think we're hiding. But the truth is, the more and more, it becomes more and more evident. And I can keep going and going and going and going and going. But the point is that over time, even though we put our clothes on every day, we go to school, we act normal, that over time, that stuff still comes to the surface. You can't hide it. You can't hide it anymore. And today, I want to encourage you to come out of hiding. That is for nobody else but for you. That the person, those things that we talked about, that unforgiveness, those people that hurt you, they may never change. I can never go back and change what happened to you in 6 or 7. But what I can do is help you change your future. Maybe you're in here questioning your sexual identity and all of that. Maybe I need to go back and trace, where did that come from? Was there something that happened to me that made me begin to say, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to begin to do this? Thank you, Victoria. You can take it off. Can somebody give her a piece of candy or something? And like I said, and I was leading into this, that some of that stuff begins to cause what we call an inner vow. All right? Has anyone ever heard that term before? Inner vow. Okay, just like 1 or 2. Thank you, I can appreciate that. An inner vow, what is that? An inner vow, the main goal of an inner vow is for self-protection. So best way I can give this is maybe as an example. That maybe you grew up, or you're growing up in a household where your mom is just always yelling, always arguing about something, always going off about something. So what do we say? Man, when I grow up, I ain't never turning out to be like that. When I grow up, I am never going to be that person. Right? That what I've done, and this is key, when you hear people saying terms like never or always, there's probably something going down even deeper that's causing them to respond to that way, because those are two very extreme words. And so what happens is I created this inner vow to self-protect, to make sure I don't turn out like that. Do you know it's interesting that one of the patterns of abuse is that the abusee becomes an abuser later, because they're repeating the patterns of what they've seen. Even if they say, I will never be an abuser when I get older. I will never do that to such and such. I will never become that person. But what happens is they're so focused on not being that person that they begin to create a self-protection that turns them into that person. And it doesn't happen overnight. They don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to abuse today. No, it doesn't happen that way. They begin to get frustrated with the way people respond. They begin to see the way other people do things. They be like, oh, well, I can protect this person better than they can. And so what ends up happening is it creates these patterns in them that make them feel like this is what I have to do. And what I'm telling you is that doesn't have to be your story. I apologize on behalf of whoever has done anything to you that was out of order. But I'm telling you, we can break the curse today, and you do not have to go down a path of what you've seen 2 and 3 generations around you. And honestly, making an inner vow may seem like a good thing. You're like, well, this sounds great, like I'm trying not to be this one. But what happens is, because we make an inner vow of always to do something or to never to do something, we step away from the strength of God and start to rely on our own strength instead. We say things like, I will never get angry. I will never get in trouble. I will always be strong. I'm never going to do anything wrong. I'm going to be perfect because all I've seen around me is imperfection. And it's different. There's a difference from an inner vow and a confession. And I don't have time to get into that, okay? But a vow is a human response to a pain or fear. So it is motivated out of pain. It's motivated out of fear. It's a self-protection. And every time we choose to rely on human help instead of the Lord's, we are choosing something called man-made that won't be able to support you in the end. And so that's why people end up falling into those same traps. When we make an inner vow in anger, hurt, or bitterness, the vow causes us to be or to do the very thing we vowed we would never do or be. How does this happen? First, most vows begin because of judgment we made against someone else. Oh, I can't believe they act like that. I'm never going to do this. So why? We've just judged them. And the Bible says, judge not lest ye be judged. And so I've created inside of me a vow to judge this person subconsciously. So then what happens is we begin to reap what we sowed. And it doesn't happen, like I said, these things will build over time. And these choices and the choices we make in life are powerful. And the last thing is resentment never produces a righteous action. We build these things out of resentment to somebody else. When something is birthed in resentment, God can't be in it. And what happens is we become protected. And I'm here to declare to you today, and a lot of times, and the reason why I'm sharing you this may seem pretty deep, but the truth is the reason why I'm telling you this is because a lot of times inner vows are birthed in childhood. They start when you're young. And if you don't deal with it in your young age, it will. And if you don't get freedom from it at some point in life, it will chase you down in your future. And so, I want you to ask the Lord, Lord, is there any vows in me that I've created based out of judgment to somebody else? Or maybe because of the way I was treated. Or maybe because of the way I was not treated. I said I would never do this. I will always be like this. Or because of what I've seen, I'm not going to repeat that past. And as I'm talking, I pray that the Lord begins to bring that stuff to the surface. Because I want those things to come up so you can get freedom out of it. So the last thing I want to address today is, so how do we receive this inner healing? And remember this, at the core of everything, his desire is to make you whole. Inner healing must begin when we become real with ourselves. John 4:23 and 24.
But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
So why did I have you read this? That you must worship God in spirit and in truth. That the first step to healing is recognizing that you need healing. Something I tell people when I walk people through healing is to say, before we do anything, I want you to say that I hurt and I've been hurting for a long time. Let that sink in. It's hard to say that. It's hard to admit that because hurt represents weakness a lot of times. But the ability to say it represents the strength to overcome it. So even in your head, or even if you have the boldness to just whisper it, I just want you to say, actually we're going to say it together. That way no one puts on the spot. Okay? So let's say it. I've hurt, and I've been hurting for a long time. And that's not necessarily for everybody. We're not confessing it, okay? But that's just to help those that needed to get it out have a space to freedom to say it. That it's okay to admit that I hurt, because now you're walking in a worshiper. And so what does it mean, spirit and truth? I looked this up. I've studied it for years, and spirit is Spirit is our soul, mind, and body. So what that means is that everything within me, every part of me, wants to worship and chooses to worship God. I worship him, and I'm not going to go into that because I'm not teaching on worship, but it's saying that every part of me, my whole being worships. And then that spirit, that truth, it means the very essence of who I am. The nature, that means in my pain, I still worship. Not just in the good times, there you can come up with, not just in the bad times, not just when life is going well, but that means when I just got punched in the face, I still worship. When I just failed in a test, that God, I feel like a failure, but I'm coming before you honestly saying, I need your help. I am hurting. That's worship to him. Worship isn't always about the praise. Sometimes worship is in the pain. Sometimes worship is giving him the pain. And I'll explain that in this next verse. And God is looking for young people that are willing to stand up and worship him with their lives. And so how do we do that? I'm not going to do the Proverbs 4, 20, 27. You can skip that. But really, you can skip it. Is that you have to allow the word to work in you. Meditate on that word. Find a word. Find one of these scriptures that I just shared and begin praying over them day in and day out. Here's a good one that we will go to. Psalms 51, verse 6 and 7.
Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you will make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow.
And I'm going to come back to that. I did say to go that first, but the Lord just told me to do the other one first. So do the last ones first, 16 and 17.
For you do not desire sacrifice, or else I would give it.
You can start praying, Jerome.
You do not delight in burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. These, O God, you will not despise.
So we talked about coming to God in truth. You can leave it up there for a second. We talked about to say, I'm hurt and I've been hurting for a long time. We talked about recognizing that I'm a mess. Let me tell you, you may be the best basketball player in the world. You may be the most amazing psalmist God has ever put on this earth. You may be the most eloquent writer that will ever touch all the world. You may throw the football the farthest than anybody that you've ever known. But it means nothing if you can't come before the Lord with a broken heart. It means nothing if we can't come before the Lord and say, God, I'm broken. I've been trying for a long time to wear the shirt like everything's okay. I've been trying for a long time to act like what they did to me didn't affect me. And yeah, I forgave them. And let me tell you, forgiveness is amazing. Forgiveness is something I preach about. But forgiveness is the process to healing. Forgiveness opens your heart to receive the healing you need to walk into the freedom that you deserve. And so, now that we forgave, now that I can look at that person in love, I now need to allow the Lord to work on me because there was some pain attached to what they did. Maybe there is some pain attached to what you did. There was some pain attached to the fact that my parents left me. There was some pain attached to the fact that I feel like I can never make friends. There's some pain attached to the fact that I keep moving from house to house to house. That's some real pain. But I'm telling you, today we're going to take that next step to admitting to God that, God, you don't want my gift today. You don't want my $1,000 as much as you want my heart. So whether you're 11, 12, 20, 25, 40 in this room, I want you to ask the Lord, is there any areas in my heart where I've been holding on to some pain? Maybe to some of our leaders, maybe you're still dealing with the fact that you walked in and maybe you did have an abortion in the past. Maybe you are walked out of a failed marriage and you still hold that against you. Maybe you're in this room and you feel like you are not doing what you're supposed to do. Maybe you haven't stepped into the careers and you've been beating yourself up about that. That I'm here to tell you today, there's healing in the room for you as well. The last verse, if you go back to verse 6 and 7, and I'll read it. Behold, this is our prayer. Lord, you desire truth in my inner part today. And in the hidden parts, you will make known your wisdom. In that deep parts of my heart, you're going to make known the wisdom. So God, I ask you today to purge me with hyssop and make me clean. Wash me and I'll be whiter than snow. What does purge me with hyssop mean? In that word hyssop was an ointment that they used from an herb back in the day. And it was their version of what we would call rubbing alcohol. Who likes to pour rubbing alcohol on open wounds? Anybody like, oh, that's the best feeling in the world? Not at all. What does it do? Say it loud. It burns. So David is saying, God, I give you permission to let your cleansing burn me from the inside out. Why? Because what I've been carrying on is not worth the pain that I could deal with for the rest of my life. So I'm giving you permission to douse me, to drain me in your rubbing alcohol for a moment, that I may never have to deal with this pain another day in my life. Can I tell you, I can talk in freedom about my relationship with my Father because I've walked through the healing that came with it. And there's a restorative story that came on the other end of that, but I don't have time to get into it. But I'm telling you, it would have never been restored had I not walked through healing. So with all eyes closed, I want you to take a moment and ask the Lord, are there any areas in my life where I've been hurting, or where I hurt? And maybe I have been hurting for a long time. This isn't about the person next to you. This isn't about what people may think about your story. We honestly are more concerned about your healing than we are about the story attached to it. And let me tell you, I always tell people, this is for male and female. You keep your eyes closed. You know, some people say, I don't cry. That's not what I do. Men don't cry. Boys don't cry. Or I don't cry. It's a sign of weakness. Let me tell you, it's actually an external feeling of physical feeling of what is actually already happening on the inside. So the tears are just an expression of the pain or the healing that's already happening. So I encourage you. A tear may fall, but it's okay. It's a sign of healing. So with eyes closed, I'm going to ask my leaders to come up to the front.